He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
I was born in Czechoslovakia, a communist country, 60 years ago. And then I had the great privilege of spending my early teens in Sweden, my mid-teens in France, before making my home here in the USA. So I've lived in 4 different countries. I've learned 4 different languages, 4 different cultures, and sampled the governing principles of 4 different countries, from oppressive communism through the safety of socialism and into the freedom of capitalism. And you know what? The one big lesson that I've learned, it's that if the citizens of a country are unhappy, and that can be anything from lack of food to freedom, someone needs to be blamed. Instead of people turning on their government, they should turn on each other. And that way, the government remains in control. They control you by giving you a target for your misery. You're told that the reason that you have too little food and a leaky roof is because of the others. They could be illegal aliens. They could be Jews. They could have brown skin. In my case, the others, the bad ones, were actually you, the capitalists. Yeah, you were taking the things that should be mine. I have witnessed the actions of the STB, which is the Czechoslovakian version of the KGB, secret police. The actions of neighbors being dragged out in the middle of the night for non-specific crimes and put away for non-specific crimes and harassed. I have witnessed what fear does to people and how it twists them and how it renders them unfeeling and unempathetic. And I have also witnessed that while most people who are scared retract into themselves and slam the doors and shut out anyone, suffering be damned, there are a few brave souls who protect those that are hounded and those in danger. And that requires a kind of courage that I'm not entirely sure that I possess, but I'd like to. And I think it's the courage to feel the fear, but still allow myself to not slam the door, to not dehumanize those who don't look or think or practice like I do.
According to brand new polling from the Daily Mail, President Trump has never been more popular as his approval ratings are reaching historic highs.
Bitch, what the fuck? Bitch, what the fuck? Bitch, bitch, what the fuck? Bitch, what the fuck? Bitch, what the fuck? What the fuck?
And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? what really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse.
Trump's entire candidacy is based on a lie.
I'm really a good businessman. I'm so good at business. Oh.
Not true. Trump is a business failure. Almost every business he's touched, he's driven into the ground.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. Trump steaks are the world's greatest steaks, and the Sharper Image is the only store where you can buy them.
According to Sharper Image's then CEO, they literally sold almost no steaks.
Trump had a failed board game.
My new game is Trump, the game.
Trump, the game, because it's not whether you win or lose, it's whether you win.
A failed bicycle race called Tour de Trump. A failed football team.
It's going to stay strong. It's going to stay strong for a long time.
Trump decided it was a good idea to start a mortgage company in 2006.
It's a great time to start a mortgage company.
That failed in less than 2 years. Let's see, what else was there?
Whatever happened to Trump Airlines?
Oh, that was a good one. One of his planes had a crash landing within the first 2 months, which he insisted was the most beautiful landing you've ever seen. The business failed within 3 years.
How about Trump University?
Failed.
And then there's Trump Magazine.
Failed.
Trump Vodka.
Failed.
Trump Travel, Trump Ice, Trump Network.
Failed, failure. Trump has even managed to bankrupt multiple casinos. Trump's entire candidacy is based on a lie.
I'm really a good businessman. I'm so good at business. Oh.
Not true.
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint.
Respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay, do you care?
No. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country?
It was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this, since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon.
I wasn't just a Trump supporter. I was a true believer. I was one of his closest advisors. The Trump family became my family. I saw him when the cameras were off. Behind closed doors, Trump mocks his supporters. He calls them basement dwellers. On a hospital visit one time when people were dying in the ICU, he was mad that the cameras were not watching him. He has no empathy, no morals, and no fidelity to the truth.
I'm about to go off on how this Trump tweet relates to my life growing up in a cult. And I don't care if you're from the left or the right, this message applies to everyone. Diversity of thought is healthy. You can't have extremism on any one side of the political spectrum. that creates a severe us versus them mentality, which is how cults develop. And that happens to be my specialty. So let me point out to you in this tweet when Trump is saying that we are a perfect organization. Oh, I've heard that before. When I was a kid, I grew up with.
At first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
So, Mr. President, after 3.5 years, do you regret at all the lying you've done to the American people? On
All the what?
everything? All the lying, all the dishonesties.
That who has done?
You have done. Tens of thousands.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So, Mr. President, after 3.5 years, do you...
Trump, I find it quite rich that you would talk about this. You know, there are a lot of us Americans who believe that we are going to have trouble someday paying back the interest on our debt because politicians have run up mountains of debt using other people's money. That is, in fact, precisely the way you ran your casinos. You ran up mountains of debt as well as losses using other people's money.
I think it's already underway. I think somebody has communicated to Ghislaine Maxwell in prison that if she exonerates the president, she'll get a pardon by the end of his term. I think it's already underway.
Which makes it worse, though, right? Correct? Doesn't that make it even more?
I don't know. I think his base, I think if she quote unquote, I mean, think about how ridiculous this is. All of a sudden they've decided they might want to speak to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
That just dawned on the Attorney General's office that maybe they should go speak to her. So it's been, in my opinion, just logic has said, okay, if you provide us with information or credible information, or just basically say he was there, but make it believable, like he was there, but he never engaged in anything like that before the end of the term, wink, wink, you're going to be back in Long Island or wherever she's from. I think the fix is already in. I think someone has already communicated to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Signing executive orders is not the way our country was supposed to be run. Nobody ever heard of an executive order. Then all of a sudden Obama, because he couldn't get anybody to agree with him, he starts signing them like...
Good morning. Last night, I had a warm conversation with President-elect Barack Obama. I congratulated him and Senator Biden on their impressive victory. I told the President-elect he can count on complete cooperation from my administration as he makes the transition to the White House. I also spoke to Senator John McCain. I congratulated him on a determined campaign that he and Governor Palin ran. The American people will always be grateful for the lifetime of service John McCain has devoted to this nation. And I know he'll continue to make tremendous contributions to our country. No matter how they cast their ballots, all Americans can be proud of the history that was made yesterday. Across the country, citizens voted in large numbers. They showed a watching world the vitality of America's democracy and the strides we have made toward a more perfect union. They chose a president whose journey represents a triumph of the American story, a testament to hard work, optimism, and faith in the enduring promise of our nation. Many of our citizens thought they would never live to see that day. This moment is especially uplifting for a generation of Americans who witnessed the struggle for civil rights with their own eyes.
Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism. Is the way that I put it. But we
release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That.
With 450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and 600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps, and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
President Trump has obviously invoked your name a lot. He has personally pressured you. Are you concerned the way that conduct might impact the Fed's independence going forward?
I'll just say that, I think that having an independent central bank has been an institutional arrangement that has served the public well. And as long as it serves the public well, it should continue and be respected. If you were not to have that, there would be a great temptation, of course, to use interest rates to affect elections, for example. And that's something that we don't want to do. So I think that's pretty widely understood. Certainly it is in Congress.
Maybe I should go to the Fed. Am I allowed to appoint myself, Doug? I don't know. Am I allowed to appoint myself at the Fed? I do a much better job than these people. So anyway, we should be 2 points lower. It'd be nice to be 2.5 points lower. We'd be saving $800 billion, $700 billion. That's a lot of money, right? Take it for nothing, for absolutely nothing. We'd save $800 billion. We have, I think we're 38th now in interest, and we should be number one. We should be the lowest.
Trump has got the nuclear codes and still doesn't understand how nukes work. Back in 2015, Donald Trump was asked about the US's nuclear triad. He floundered, talking vaguely about devastation until Marco Rubio bailed him out. Now 10 years on and back in the White House, Trump has just ordered 2 nuclear submarines to move towards Russia, all because of a threatening social media post from Putin ally Dmitry Medvedev. But here's the issue. Those submarines are America's second strike weapons. You're not supposed to say where they are. You're not even supposed to suggest you're moving them. John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, says this isn't tough leadership. It's proof he still doesn't get the basics. A president shifting nuclear assets based on Russian tweets. That's not strength. That's a risk to global security.
Trump's pick to head FEMA didn't know we had a hurricane season. His head of Homeland Security doesn't know what habeas corpus is. His head of the Department of Education, who thinks AI is a steak sauce, doesn't know what the Tulsa race massacre was. And his Social Security Commissioner didn't even know we had a Social Security Commissioner. All while his head of the Department of Defense is drunk texting war plans, his head of Health and Human Services is citing studies that don't exist, his head of Transportation won't fly in or out of at least one of our airports due to safety concerns, and the guy he tapped to lead an $18 million terror prevention team is a 22-year-old former grocery clerk with zero government experience of any kind. But sure, keep talking about Biden.
When he's not complaining, he's trying to sell you stuff. Have you noticed that? Who does that? You're running for president and you're hawking merchandise. Gold sneakers, $100,000 watch. Supposed to be Swiss watch, he says. The best watch. Why are you selling the watch? What are you doing? My favorite is the Trump Bible. True story. True story. It's embossed with his name right on it. Donald Trump edition, right next to Matthew and Luke. Donald. And I'll give you one guess where those Bibles are made. He's Mr. Tough Guy on China, except when it comes to making a few bucks. You cannot make this stuff up.
You said you would have this war settled in 24 hours.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that.
I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that.
Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that.
I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that.
I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I...
What is also clear is that Trump has no economic theory behind what he's doing. And I think that's most disturbing, both to me as an economist and to those who are on the other side of negotiations. I've talked to some of these people and they say, we don't know how to negotiate because the other side is not a normal negotiator. Normally the other side knows what they want. There's a theory about how trade works. That's not true here. It's a different world. So let me give you an example. Trump thinks that trade deficits by themselves, and in particular trade deficits in goods, reflect somebody treating us unfairly. And it's based sort of on a premise that we are better than any other country, so people should be buying more goods from us than we are buying from them. But we are in the 21st century, not where we were in 1950. Services are the major part of our economy. Goods production, manufacturing is 9-10%. What are important? Service sector, tourism, education, health. What is he doing to those sectors? Look what he's done in the last few weeks. He's devastated our education system. The way his immigration people have treated those wanting to come. What is also clear is that Trump has no economic theory behind what he's doing.
Do you remember where Trump got the tariff thing from in the first place? Do you remember when and why and how we started talking about tariffs in the first place? It was in his first campaign for president. Trump didn't really have any formal economic advisors. So he told his son-in-law, Jared, to find him an economic advisor, a summary of his views, and then asked him to do some research. Kushner simply went on Amazon, where he was struck by the title of one book, Death by China, co-authored by a man named Peter Navarro. Jared then cold called Navarro, a well-known trade deficit hawk who agreed to join the team as an economic advisor. Peter Navarro has cited an economics expert to justify his views. And the economics expert he cites is somebody named Ron Vera, V-A-R-A, Ron Vera. Problem is, Ron Vera doesn't exist. He never has. The economics expert that Peter Navarro has long cited to explain why he's so gung-ho on tariffs, this person, Ron Vera, is a made-up person. He is a fictional person.
In 2016, you said that. I'm going to surround myself with only the best and most serious people.
Well, I did do that.
This
and we
time,
had tremendous. Look, we had the best economy we've ever had. The world has ever seen.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you.
Yeah.
Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second Defense Secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock, and your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Canadian, milquetoast, and multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So, why did you hire all of them in the first place? In 2016, you said...
Who pays the tariffs?
What?
Who pays the tariffs?
Foreign countries pay the tariffs.
No. Wait, we're talking about tariffs. So the product comes in from China, it gets on a ship, right, and then it comes in, and I'm the American manufacturer. I'm going to use that stuff from China. Who paid the tariff on it?
The Chinese government pays the tariff.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. You're thinking because you're paying more for that product.
I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I'm definitely not going to vote for Trump. My current plan is to vote either third party, or as I joke to my wife, I might write in my dog. What Trump is just another opioid. I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. There is definitely an element of Donald Trump support that has its basis in racism or xenophobia. I agree with you on Trump. I don't think he actually cares about folks. I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction. And that's ultimately what worries me the most about Trump. Trump is a really bad candidate, and frankly, I think a really bad person.
I presume you don't think Trump is a good president.
No.
Do you see him as a bad president who's wrong about a lot of things, or as an existential threat to democracy in this country?
I would go well beyond bad president. There are presidents who you disagree with and presidents you agree with. This is, I think, categorically different. We have not had a president, left, right, or center, who has tried to destroy companies, universities, and broadcasters who criticize his government. There's been rough and tumble politics all through U.S. history, but that is not just different, it's different in a way that offends every fiber of American civic values, left, right, and center.
Charges that Jeffrey Epstein was running a sex trafficking ring in the early 2000s that included underage girls as young as 14 years old.
Donald Trump in 2002 said of Epstein, he's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
He routinely spoke fawningly of Jeffrey. He admired Epstein's lifestyle.
Your daughter, she's beautiful. Can I say this? A piece of it.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
What does Tiffany have of Marlon's?
She's got Marlon's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet.
You were playing tennis and you came off the court. Quote, look at that piece of I would love some of that. It so happened that Trump was referring to Cohen's then 15-year-old daughter, Samantha.
I had the impression that he was interested in younger women and that, you know, women would age out for him.
Miss Teen Universe? Yeah, that's like giving Jeffrey Dahmer a cooking show.
I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I standing there with no left.
Donald Trump is heard making questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
A lawsuit against the presumptive GOP nominee alleges he raped a girl when she was 13 years old.
Prince Andrew answering questions for the first time about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't know Prince Andrew, but it's a tough story.
Trump has been photographed with Prince Andrew as far back as the year 2000.
Ghislaine Maxwell is accused of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls.
I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. Right. I mean,
you
sure.
are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Well, I think her history is far from being over. I'd like to answer that question in another 15 years from now. I think she's going to go down at a minimum as a great senator. I think she is a great wife to a president. And I think Bill Clinton was a great president. You know, you look at the country then. The economy was doing great. Look at what happened during the Clinton years. I mean, we had no war. The economy was doing great. Everybody was happy. A lot of people hated him because they were jealous as hell. You know, people get jealous and they hate you. People. Saudi Arabia giving $25 million, Qatar, all of these countries. These are people that kill women and treat women horribly, and yet you take their money. Not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him. It is my pleasure and my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm surprised that it wasn't
the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. That's Monroe from the Monroe document.
I don't want to be a wise guy, but when Hitler made his speech at the Eiffel Tower, I would say that wasn't exactly ideal.
Just a quick little fact check here. Cancer only goes up to stage 4. It's the Monroe Doctrine, not document. And if you were a wise guy, you'd be wise to know that Hitler never gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower.
They didn't want to be tariffed, did they, Howard? So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen.
The only minority destroying America is the billionaires. Trans people are 1% of the population. Muslims are 1% of the population. Undocumented people are 1% of the population. We are focused on the wrong 1%. Trans people aren't taking away our health care. Muslims aren't defunding our schools. Immigrants aren't cutting taxes for themselves and their rich friends. It's the billionaires and their puppet politicians. The culture wars are a smokescreen. So many of the divisions in this state and in this country are manufactured by billionaires who want us fighting each other instead of fighting them. They want us looking left and right at our neighbors instead of looking up at them. The biggest divide in our politics is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom.
We remain a young nation, but in the words of Scripture, the time has come to set aside childish things. The time has come to reaffirm our enduring spirit, to choose our better history, to carry forward that precious gift, that noble idea passed on from generation to generation, the God-given promise that all are equal, all are free, and all deserve a chance to pursue their full measure of happiness.
Look, I was raised in Texas, and there's a lot of focus on the Hispanic population. I mean, if you're raised in Texas, you understand what it means to interface with Mexican Americans who are Texan, and you realize that we share the same values: faith, family, hard work, commitment to service, and I think we ought to welcome people from different cultures to America. The great thing about America is we ought to be confident in knowing that everybody becomes an American, and we share the same value system. In other words,
it has been the honor of my life to serve. I won't stop. In fact, I will be right there with you as a citizen for all my remaining days.
We need to get these criminal immigrants out of here.
What crimes are they committing?
Being here illegally is breaking the law.
Actually, being in the U.S. without permission is a civil violation, not a crime.
What's the difference?
It's like getting a speeding ticket. Are you a criminal for speeding?
Well, no, but they're still breaking the law.
Over 75% of people in ICE custody have no criminal conviction other than immigration or traffic violations.
So they're basically getting deported for speeding tickets?
Now you understand why families are being torn apart for no good reason.
See, I get why people voted for him. Because even before he came on the scene, America had the most corrupt political system in the Western world. It's been running on corporate money, secret money, billionaire money, both sides. And it's worse than ever now. Citizens United was the worst court decision in modern American history. And when members of Congress aren't begging for money from lobbyists, they're trying to dodge getting carpet bombed by these super PACs. Senators get threatened every day with millions and millions of dollars of attack ads over the votes that we take. And see, this is why nothing works for ordinary people. It's not because of woke college kids or trans students or because there are interracial couples in cereal commercials. It's because the people's elected representatives don't represent the people, they represent the donors.
Stone cold fact of the matter is the American people are less safe today than we were 24 hours ago, last month, last week, 1 year ago. That is because there is a generational turnover happening in full view at the FBI right now. A dark transformation whereby Donald Trump scatters top talent vital to the safety of the American homeland to the winds, all in the name of his retribution campaign and revenge. The latest victim of the ongoing purge at the FBI, according to 2 federal law enforcement sources, is Steve Jensen. He's the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office. He played a key role in the January 6 investigations. Remember, before Jensen, we reported yesterday that we had learned of other terminations this week, like that of the former acting director of the FBI, Brian Driscoll. He was a hero among the agency's rank and file for resisting a directive from the Trump Justice Department earlier this year, demanding a list of names of agents who had worked on cases having to do with, you guessed it, January 6th. NBC's Ken Delanian noted this afternoon that more than 200 people were there to applaud Driscoll today on his way out of the office and out of the FBI for the last time. A source telling Ken Delanian, quote, "People are pissed." And there's
Hey everyone, well, I am leaving the Capitol on a wild Tuesday. We just took the second of a surprise vote that was just put on the floor as a motion to adjourn, which is basically to shut down the House that my colleague Yvette Clark from New York brought after Donald Trump canceled a briefing to Capitol Hill on what he is doing in the Middle East with his unauthorized attack on Iran. Now, this is unprecedented. Let me just explain what a big deal this is. First of all, Article 1 of the United States Constitution is very clear. The power to declare war squarely sits with the United States Congress. You need the approval of the House and the Senate to declare war. It was written into the Constitution by our founding fathers. The president disobeyed and violated the Constitution in launching his attack this weekend. And what is particularly unprecedented about what he has done is that he not only failed to ask for permission from Congress, he has not even briefed both chambers and both sides of the aisle, including the highest ranking members of Congress, including the Gang of Eight, which are the national security and highest ranking members of Congress who are always briefed, no matter who is president, on what is happening. So
if President Trump is serious about recreating manufacturing jobs in the United States, he needs to do several things. And I offer this advice without charging him a penny. He needs to build up connectivity, build up container ports, build up high-speed railway, build up high-quality highway system, for example, build up inner river transportation, and he need to increase power generation like crazy. He need to at least double the power capacity in the United States to really achieve meaningful amount of manufacturing jobs back to the United States. He need to train the American people. He need to instill this discipline and work ethics which will enable the great people in the United States to work in factories which need to be competitive, which need to have the marketability not only in the US market but in the global market. You think tariff will really force manufacturing jobs back to the United States?
I'm interested in your take when it comes to politics and the economy on Donald Trump. Trump has been all over the media saying he's a hugely successful businessman and would know how to run this country better than it's being run now. He told me that many of the leaders we have right now in government aren't very smart. Would Donald Trump make a strong president?
Well, he might be quite decisive. But do I consider Donald Trump an ideal decision maker or manager of anything? And the answer is no. And the last person almost I'd want to be president of the United States is Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think he has qualities that make him unsuitable for the office.
Those qualities?
Vainglory, puffery to a large an extent. I could go on and on.
Feel free.
No.
Did you notice the mysterious smile of German Chancellor Friedrich Merz when he presented Trump with a gift? One of his moves made Trump a laughingstock. Merz recently visited Trump at the White House for his first meeting since his election on May 6th. Merz presented Trump with a very special gift, a gold-framed replica of the birth certificate of Trump's grandfather, Friedrich Trump. This 1885 document clearly shows that Trump was born in Germany before immigrating to the United States. This proves that the Trump family has actually been German immigrants. Not only that, Merz also deliberately pointed the document directly at Trump, as if constantly reminding him of his immigrant roots in front of the camera. Trump was stunned, and his panic made him a laughingstock, and Merz maintained a strange, tacit smile. This looks like...
It would be hard to think of a more elegant way to reduce prosperity this fast. Let's talk about Apple. The notion was we were going to bring back all those great jobs. The average Apple assembly person in China makes $500 a month. The average Apple employee focusing on more high-value things like design, store management, makes $200,000 a year here. We want to wear Nikes. We don't want to make them. We have outsourced low-wage jobs overseas such that we can create more profits, more investments, and create higher-wage jobs. If these tariffs hold, your iPhone's going to go from $1,000 to $2,300. To make an iPhone in the U.S., it would cost $3,500. As a result, the threats of these tariffs take Apple stock down the value of Walmart in 3 days. If these tariffs hold, 80% of toys under the Christmas tree are from China. So 90% of U.S. households are budget constrained. So we're talking about half the number of toys. We're talking about a destruction in shareholder value such that your parents can't retire as quickly. And we're talking about the entire world rerouting their supply chain around brand America, which quite frankly right now is toxic uncertainty, so they can bypass a series of unpredictable, epileptic, sclerotic decisions where we finally need to acknowledge we have someone at the wheel of the global economy that is blackout drunk right now.
When you tell Trump when you're in the room, you're crazy, pull back from this is not going to work, you get fired and you get kicked out of the room. I got fired because I was literally fighting with him over a policy issue. I disagree with him. I explained why. I got into that argument with him on Friday. On Monday morning, I was fired.
A tariff is a tax on a foreign country. That's the way it is, whether you like it or not. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's a tax on us. No. It's a tax on a foreign country. It's a tax on a country that's ripping us off and stealing our jobs.
But most any importer or economist will tell you the president is mistaken. Tariffs are not a tax on a foreign country. The tax is paid by the importer in the United States. For example, Walmart imports goods from China, and when those goods cross into the United States, Walmart pays the tariff. If Walmart decides to pass the cost to consumers, then you paid the tariff, not China.
And today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it.
Who did that?
We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
This is not the same Trump that we saw 8 years ago. The United States government has absolutely no right in absolutely leveling an entire country and then deciding to go out of its way to just take it. This has to be one of the most diabolical things I have ever seen. And if this...
All right, guys, I didn't really want to have to get on here and do this, but I had to. These are fiberglass steaks right here. Those big, bulky steaks on the back of the truck, wooden steaks. I called 2 weeks ago to get a quote on these fiberglass steaks because we need some more steaks this year. I got a quote, 83 cents. I called the man this morning. I said, hey, I know these tariffs are crazy and everything going on. I said, what can you do me on those fiberglass steaks now if we needed a load? It's a 3-month ETA from time you place the order. He said, Taylor, he said, you don't want to hear this price and I'm about to give you. And I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. And I said, well, you know, and I know both that we can't do that.
Did you hear about this? A perfect storm just crushed Kentucky's $9 billion whiskey industry. Here's what's going on. In the last 8 months, 3 major distilleries filed for bankruptcy. 23,000 jobs gone. Why? Well, first, Gen Z. They're not drinking as much as they used to. They prefer weed over whiskey. Second, the European nation slapped massive tariffs on U.S. whiskey. At the same time, producers flooded the market betting that a boom would last forever, but it didn't. It tanked. In Canada, that was the final nail in the coffin. They hit U.S. whiskey with a 25% tariff, then pulled it off their shelves completely in retaliation against Trump's trade war. Now we have a 200-year-old American tradition that is circling the drain. What do you think? Can U.S. whiskey be saved? And
okay, I have a question for all the MAGA men who have daughters. What did you tell your daughter when she found out that you voted for and are still supporting a sex offender? What did you tell them when they found out that he's taking away their rights? Can you really look at your daughter and think that you're providing for her? Would you really leave her alone in a room with Trump?
Excuse me, was you saying something? You can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Let up the suicide doors. This is my life, homie. You decide yours. I know that.
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now?
I think she's hot.
There's something there, right?
Yes.
But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest.
Yes.
And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles?
If the father's a wreck, like the way he is,
right?
You imagine this troubled.
Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed.
Back in the day.
How come the deeply troubled women?
Yes.
Deeply, deeply troubled.
Right.
They're always the best in bed. If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable.
I could tell from the.
Hold on. What did you just say about Trump?
I said, Trump's a fucking liar. Inflation's going up. Gas prices hasn't really come down that much. Eggs. That's the funny one. The eggs. I'm mad. And I'm a mega man. Okay? I don't see anything he's done.
So is it safe to say that the illusion has faded?
I think it has, yes. I was for him because, everything he said. He played right into my hands. He just told us everything we wanted to hear. That's what he did. I can't even stand to look at him because, he's just he's a con. He's a flat ass, nothing but a fucking con. They all the right side, they say, oh yeah, the Biden side was so bad. Well, what's so good about the right side? He brags.
So, Ms. Trump, I take it you are not going to answer any questions about your preparation today with your counsel. Is that correct?
Should I say this, or should I respond to that?
Just read that.
For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein, in its entirety, I decline to answer the question. Same answer. 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 Anyone in my position not taking the Fifth Amendment would be a fool, an absolute fool.
The world trading system will go forward without the United States, basically. Trump has something quite different in mind, which is that the U.S. remains at the center of the power and the center of the system. Other countries will fall into line with the United States against China. So not merely fall into line with the U.S., but will actually join the trade war against China. If you take a hard look at what real economic power the United States still maintains, it's nowhere close to what Trump believes.
Trump is placing D.C. under federal control and deploying the National Guard because he says violent crime is out of control. But is that true? Let's look at the data. When you compare 2023 to the beginning of 2025, there has been a precipitous drop in crime in Washington, D.C. In fact, as of January of 2025, violent crime in D.C. hit a 30-year low. Unalivings were down by 32%.
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
The past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides
the tariffs. That's not really something the president is allowed to do unilaterally, is it?
No, an enumerated, constitutionally enumerated power of Congress is to regulate trade with foreign nations. Congress, however, in its absent-minded way, has now become a spectator of government, and it has given vast powers to the president. Either it gave them to him in the statute that he cites, which doesn't mention tariffs and has never been used by a president for this, or they have given it to him, in which case it's an unconstitutional delegation of legislative power. The interesting thing is he calls this a 50-year emergency. That's an oxymoron. Something that lasts 50 years.
So, folks, if we're going to waste this committee's time just to glorify one man's ego, I propose that we at least be efficient about this, right? I mean, that's the theme of the day, efficiency from Doge and others. And so the great Wayne Gretzky once said, you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where it's going to be. And my amendment tries to do that. I mean, why do all of this Trump glorification in a piecemeal manner? Why not cut to the chase? And I am proposing that we rename the entire planet Trump. In the world that this administration is building and this committee is enabling, everything is about Donald Trump anyway. Republicans are proposing that we put his face on currency. His name is apparently going to go on Air Force One. You've introduced a bill to add his head to Mount Rushmore. His whims are shaping everything from who gets prosecuted to who gets silenced and who gets to participate in democracy. And so I would not be surprised if one of you actually proposes a 60-foot statue of him looming over the National Mall, as we've taken, some liberty to depict what that might be. We're trying to...
Okay. I just watched the entire hour-long White House press briefing where Donald Trump talked about the fact that he is going to be unleashing military police, the FBI, and the National Guard on D.C. to address the violent crime that is happening there. Remember when Donald Trump said in April 2020 that COVID might be able to be cured by ingesting Lysol or bleach? That's what I feel like I need for my brain right now. I'm going to give you a really quick recap of all the things that he said. He said blowtorches 5 times. He talked about transgendered athletes in women's sports. He said, I'm very competent. He said, it's embarrassing for me to be up here. I agree. He claimed a liberal statistician has reported 0 undocumented immigrants are entering our country right now. He talked about Confederate statues. He talked about all the roads being improperly constructed in DC because designers decided they need 1/4 of an inch more curve. He held up charts but didn't explain what they mean. He said the FBI is going to replace the DC police. I don't think he knows what the FBI does. He took credit for the LA 2028 Olympics even though the bid was originally made under the Obama administration. He took credit for bringing the 2026 World Cup to America even though it is a joint bid between the US, Mexico, and Canada. He said he's visiting Russia next week. He's visiting Alaska. He talked about the ballroom and how amazing a real estate businessman he is. He said that the war between Ukraine and Russia is the worst war since World War II. He said Europe has only contributed $100 billion and the US has contributed over $300 billion to Ukraine. In actuality, the number is $84 billion that the US has spent, and Europe has spent $180 billion. He stated that for the good of Ukraine, they will need to give Russia the land Russia currently occupies. He said Russia is a mess and they have 11 time zones.
Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. got stopped at the weigh station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper. Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Got stopped at the weigh station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper, and it says, "Can you read and write English?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure can." He goes, "Can you read this?" So I read it to myself, and I was like, okay. I started handing it back. He goes, no, read it out loud for me. So I read it out loud for him, and, it's short and sweet, no problem. He goes, "Now, can you write this for me on this paper?" And I did, and there was a whole bunch of people that had already written on it. And I was actually witnessing people in handcuffs that had been pulled in, and I was like, what's going on? He goes, "Oh, we've come across now that if you cannot read or write in English, that it's a $5,000 fine, and if you have a company in Arkansas that employs people that can't read or write in English, it's a $10,000 fine paid on the spot. If you cannot pay it, you're automatically arrested and lose your license."
I think we'll see the Trump presidency as the turning point in the decline of America. If we have in these key positions, notably the President of the United States, somebody who acts like a child, who's so capricious, so unpredictable, then the whole thing, not just the country, I think we'll see the Trump presidency as the turning point in the decline of America, where it loses its respect internationally, its moral authority. Without moral authority globally, America the dream is over.
Is it? Do they care? You asked, why should we care? Do they care if the rest of the world doesn't think they're morally authoritative anymore?
I think they'll care where they see the consequences and where they see the kickback from the tariffs. I think they'll care.
President Trump is casting aside those who might stand in his way, and among the first to go were at least 20 leaders of federal offices that were created by Congress to hold administrations accountable. You may not know it, but after Watergate, Congress set up a system to audit the executive branch and ensure the rights of federal workers. Those offices became known as watchdogs. Congress has guarded their independence from politics so that no president can use these powerful auditors to punish enemies or hide their own fiascos. But now, for the first time in 44 years, President Trump has fired these officials en masse.
This is the consequences when we chose the wrong direction. Oh my God. Yes.
Y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now.